The story of Israel and Palestine begins in ancient times well before modern politics and borders. Thousands of years ago, the region known as Canaan was inhabited by various peoples, including the Hebrews, Philistines, and Canaanites. According to religious texts, the Hebrews settled in the land around 1200 BCE, eventually forming the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. Centuries of conquests followed by the Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. Each wave left a cultural imprint. In 70 CE, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem and expelled many Jews, beginning a long Jewish diaspora. However, both Jews and Arabs continued to live in the region throughout the centuries. For 400 years, from 1517 to the end of World War I, the land was under Ottoman rule. During this time, the population was predominantly Arab and Muslim, with small Jewish and Christian communities. In the late 19th century, two powerful ideas began to emerge: Zionism and Arab nationalism. Zionism, fueled by rising anti-Semitism in Europe, called for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. Meanwhile, Arab nationalism arose in opposition to Ottoman control and later Western imperialism. Tensions simmered as Zionist immigration increased, especially after pogroms in Eastern Europe and the Dreyfus Affair in France. In the aftermath of World War I, Britain took control of Palestine under a League of Nations mandate. In 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, expressing support for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. However, the declaration also promised to protect the rights of non-Jewish communities, a contradiction that would prove disastrous. During the British Mandate, Jewish immigration surged, especially during the Nazi era in the 1930s. Arab opposition grew, resulting in violent clashes in the Arab Revolt of 1936 to 1939. Britain tried to limit immigration, but tensions only escalated, and by the end of World War II, the situation was explosive. In 1947, the United Nations proposed partitioning Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem under international control. Jewish leaders accepted the plan. Arab leaders rejected it, seeing it as unjust. On May 14, 1948, Israel declared independence. The next day, 5 Arab nations invaded. The First Arab-Israeli War, known as the War of Independence to Israelis and the Nakba, or catastrophe to Palestinians, left over 700,000 Palestinians displaced. Israel survived and even expanded its territory beyond the UNPLAN. Jordan annexed the West Bank. Egypt took Gaza. Palestinian refugees became a permanent and painful legacy of that war. In the decades that followed, the region saw repeated wars in 1956, 1967, and 1973. The most pivotal was the Six-Day War in 1967. Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, capturing the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and Golan Heights. The occupation of the West Bank and Gaza became the heart of the conflict. Palestinians demanded a state of their own, while Israeli settlements began to grow in occupied territories. In 1987, decades of frustration erupted into the First Intifada, a mass Palestinian uprising against Israeli rule. It lasted until the early 1990s and marked a turning point. In 1993, a historic moment, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat shook hands on the White House lawn, signing the Oslo Accords. The agreement established the Palestinian Authority and set a path for a two-state solution. But the peace was fragile. Extremists on both sides undermined it. In 1995, Rabin was assassinated by a Jewish extremist. Trust eroded. The Second Intifada erupted in 2000, with suicide bombings and military crackdowns. Peace talks stalled. The dream of two states began to fade. In 2005, Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza. A year later, Hamas, a militant Islamist group, won Palestinian elections. A violent split followed between Hamas in Gaza and the Fatah-led Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. Since then, Gaza has been under a blockade by Israel and Egypt, citing security concerns. Several wars have broken out between Hamas and Israel in 2008, 2012, 2014, and beyond. Thousands of civilians have died, and Gaza's humanitarian crisis deepens with each conflict. Meanwhile, the West Bank remains occupied, with settlements expanding and hopes for peace dwindling. Today, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains one of the most enduring and emotionally charged disputes in the world. Each side holds deep historical grievances. For Israelis, it is about security, survival, and a homeland. For Palestinians, it is about justice, dignity, and the right to return. Efforts at peace continue through diplomacy, protest, and even art. But violence and mistrust often derail progress. In the age of social media, the conflict plays out not only on battlefields, but in narratives, shaping global opinion. As we look to the future, the question remains, can a path be found that respects the rights, identities, and aspirations of both peoples? The history is long and complex, but the human desire for peace, freedom, and home on both sides remains eternal.